Jar is the personification of every terrible thing that has ever been said about the ACC. He is the snakiest, leechiest I have ever seen.
Recently, in the wake of his video defending Seethe from serious grooming allegations, JustARobot found himself involved in one of the most insane livestream interviews of all time, being ripped limb from limb by ChudLogic.
Right, so you were trying to use my platform in order to spread your message under the auspices of, oh, I just want your feedback. That's extremely manipulative, and I'm amazed that you think I would fall for that. I'm astounded that you think you could pull a fast one on me like this.
Well, I did want your feedback.
Who are you kidding?
Now, you might be misled into thinking that Jar is some sort of new kid on the block, but his history on the internet goes way, way back, and it's wrapped up in multiple dramas and controversies. In fact, drama and controversy may be the one consistent thing about the guy, because his earliest content was wrapped up in the anti-SJW skeptic community. And while I've held off on talking about Jar for a while now, there was one moment in the ChudLogic interview that really caught my interest.
If I am in the wrong, I will happily take down my video. I've been lied about plenty of times, and I've always fought back against people slandering and lying about me. I'm not fighting back this time because I know, after chatting with you and watching through your video, that I am in the wrong here.
Now that claim, that Jar has been lied about and slandered over the years, is a really, really interesting one. Because his history is so messy and convoluted, there's no comprehensive timeline that really exists for Jar. So alternatively, I've interviewed many of the people who've interacted or had issues with Jar over the years, because I think the best way to show you who Jar is to show you who Jar is. Thoughts on Jar?
Yeah, gay, autistic.
The stuff that's recently occurred with Seethe isn't an outlier, it's part of a much larger pattern for the way he behaves with other creators online and presents himself to an audience. So what we're going to do here today is look through many of his previous actions and build a profile of one of the most crazy internet autists I think currently exists on YouTube.
This one goes out to my coolies.
I think a good place to start with Jar is his professional victimhood, which is at such astonishing levels it beggars belief.
I avoided talking about the ArtCC dramas because ArtCC people tend to be a bit backstabby.
Interestingly, this is a sentiment he'd repeat to Seethe in his recent and now deleted video where he goes to bat for her.
That's why I hate ArtCC people. They're insanely backstabby.
But what does Jar mean by this? What situations has he been in that he just assumes everyone is out to stab him in the back? Well, this is most probably one of those cases where you just assume that others are going to do to you what you will do to them. Because if anybody is a backstabbing bitch, it's Jar. He's very willing to sort of like put the knife in and twist it. And from what I hear, it's because like he'll hold a grudge for like 5 years, 10 years, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, let's say somehow his Seethe like affiliation alliance succeeded. Let's say the video goes off amazingly. Everyone's like, let's go. This is amazing. It's pretty likely that sometime in the future, when they have a falling out, JustARobot would forget all of that and then completely turn on his previous position just to go at Seethe for whatever reason. Like that's what that seems to be like what he's done, and everyone just kind of skirt past it because everyone just thinks like, oh, he's just got the right opinion. Like it's fine.
The video we're currently watching clips from is his one on Hopeless Peaches, and like many other dramas in the past, the minute Jar has an opportunity to take a shot at somebody, regardless on what terms he is on with them, he will take it. Which makes this next bit incredibly ironic.
It doesn't matter how many times you shout them out, defend them in a drama, or anything else. To them, you're just another potential target for them to make a video on.
So, I, unfortunately, had the displeasure of going through your Susie video today, because I had it beforehand. Because I've had people tell me it was in there, and I wanted to make sure I knew. So I'm going to tell you what I saw in that video, Jar. I saw you dancing on the grave of somebody who, with the exception of voicing in a video, which you and her resolved between yourselves, dancing on the grave of somebody who'd been nothing but kind to you.
Jar will say that the accusations against him have been long debunked. And while we'll look into why he's been able to make that claim, there's one particular accusation that I really want to hone in on because it deserves some analysis.
Then to everybody in the ArtCC, guys, if your allegations about me being racist haven't worked the first 50 times, then they're not gonna work this time. Like seriously, I have been called racist by the ArtCC for doing an accent. At this point, things are just getting petty.
At the risk of making Jar sound dangerously based, let's just say the racism accusations are more than just doing some voices. Now, while I don't personally care, I think that there is more than enough here that if you wanted to make that accusation, it is a reasonable one to make, and Jar getting so upset about it is absolutely insane.
The only time I remember him saying it was when he said, say. But even then, that was to make fun of a white girl. Oh, so your thumbnail maker is either a racist white person or a according to you.
I decided to reveal my true colors. I, JustARobot, am in fact black.
Just to be clear, this goofy motherfucker is like the whitest person I have ever seen. And let's not forget about the outro song to this dude's old videos.
My eyes have seen the glory of the cleansing of YouTube, debunking SJWs and feminazis too. We criticize reactionists in hopes they get the boot. JustARobot marches on.
And before you say, hey Beckett, that's just the Battle Hymn of the Republic, what are you talking about, bro? It was noted by several sources that this rendition bears a striking similarity to the rendition in American History X.
Jew by Jew by Jew, the white man marches on.
He was begging for me to explain how calling a black woman an ugly little black thing is racist.
Oh my God.
Wait, is that what he actually said? Because I've never heard the racism accusations.
He did. It's bad.
He
like,
called,
oh my God.
Yeah, he called Omni a stupid black woman for them having a disagreement. He then went on to he had made a video on something about race bending because he always has beef with like black characters in anime. But you know what? You can have your own opinion, even though it's sus in my opinion. But anyway, in that video, he called Michelle Obama a man and like
what?
had like some racist memes in there. Yeah, and then he's like, straight up, he just likes to say the N-word and just like say crazy things. But he says that it's because he has apparently his black roommate doesn't mind it, so...
And it's not even racism against black people.
I've got a black friend.
Literally.
Yeah, he actually made a video. He said, I asked my black friend, that is his roommate, Professor Dreadlock. He said it's fine. So like, he wasn't mad about it.
Oh
I don't know.
God. And he did a video where he said that Asian people speak English.
Yeah,
good.
He
Send
also
me all of
said
it.
something about Jewish people.
A lot of the people who worked directly under Larry Fink were Jewish, up to the point that a lot of people who worked in the company called his desk, quote, Little Israel. And this is why some people have accused me of asking the Jewish question.
Now, nothing I'm presenting here is particularly new. Jar's been dealing with these accusations for years now. And they are, to be fair, very much a product of the environment in which he used to exist. The issue lies in the fact that he's such a whiny bitch about them anytime they're brought up. Now, I want to be fair, but it's very difficult to paint a picture of a guy I've never even spoken to, which, let's be honest, only left me with one option. I'm interested as to why this bothers you so much, because, you know, I think those of us who've been around a while all have sort of our edgier elements.
You actually talked about that in the video you did with Akumu. You did, remember? I remember.
Yeah. I think I've mentioned some things along those lines. And it's interesting watching your reaction to that.
I know. The reason why I think I had such a visceral reaction before the Cine Bear stuff, that was the closest I have ever come to being canceled. Prismate Luke talked about it, Thuman, Kai, and a bunch of other people were going to talk about it, but I apologized very early on, and then it kind of went away, but people kept on bringing it up, and it's kind of become a meme, in a way. It's like, I even brought it up in my Cine Bear video, like, come on, you don't even think I'm racist? Boo! Like, it's kind of become a meme. I've kind of accepted it, but when it first happened, my biggest connection with another YouTuber was Kuro the artist, and Prismate Luke painted me incredibly uncharitably. Like, he claimed that my roommate's avatar, he wasn't my roommate at the time, but now he is, but my roommate's avatar, Professor Dreadlock, was a quote-unquote blackface version of me, even though the only thing they have in common is it's in the same art style.
Okay. I don't think I've seen that image. I've only seen the one where you've got sort of your robot character properly sort of race swapped in your video where you're talking about, I believe, Sean King and some of the stuff that's happening around black identitarian politics.
Yes, that's another. I don't personally think that was blackface, but what happened there is the artist who did my original avatar drew that picture of me because that's how she assumed I looked in real life. And if you've seen any leaked pictures of me, you know I don't look a thing like that.
I am aware of the leaked pictures. I will say I know that your sort of face isn't out there. So if any like image of you is used, it will be blurred. So I'm not sort of face revealing you. But I know those images are sort of pretty widely shared around. I think I've seen them on Twitter as well at this.
I just hate that everybody uses the lowest res image of me. I'm like, there's literally every image of me that I leaked. It was higher quality than that one, but everybody loves to use the one where I'm in low resolution for some reason.
I think it's the Superman shirt, mate. I'm going to be honest with you. I think that has a lot to do with it.
I think it's embarrassing to admit that I'm wearing a Superman shirt right now.
Well, fair enough. But okay, I think that sort of clears up that question. Actually, no, sorry, I had one other thing. The song you use at the end of your videos, the Battle Hymn of the Republic that you had for the way those videos ended. I heard through one of the people I spoke to, in fact several of the people I spoke to, that it bears a striking similarity to American History X. I sort of just wanted to ask whether that in any way was an inspiration, because the wording has similarities to that particular song in ways that it doesn't have to the original hymn.
Oh, no, that's perfectly understandable, and that is accurate. I heard the song growing up, Glory, Glory, Hallelujah. Then I watched a movie, American History X, while I was actually creating my channel, and I thought... when I heard that racist rendition of it, I thought, oh, I'm going to make my own rendition of this song. Like, it's a rendition of a rendition. And one of my friends, who's not my friend anymore, helped me come up with the lyrics. And yeah, that's where the song came from. By the way, highly recommend the movie American History X. My one problem is when the white nationalist guy is shooting, that gun had way too much ammo for a pistol.
As a final element of this section, I'd just like to hone in on the element of Jar making apologies, because in this regard, it can be difficult to take them at face value.
Going to help me with my apology video. That's going to be on me, and I'm...
Jar, here's the problem.
Yeah?
Your apology video, it's not going to have any value to it. And the reason why it's not going to have any value to it, because you have gone on record before saying you will revoke apologies. That's...
Well, no. Well, I haven't revoked all of them, but like...
And here lies a problem with a lot of the stuff with Jar. The dude has no spine and no conviction. However, I do have to thank Jar for one thing, because if I continue playing the clip that set up the racism segment, it brings us nicely onto our next section.
Try calling me sexist next time. At least there's plenty of evidence for that allegation.
During the latter half of his conversation with Chud Logic, FPS Diesel would make an appearance and drop an unexpected bombshell.
Right, what is this?
Yo, you're all good. You can finish it up tomorrow, in fact. Yeah. What a cute little pussy.
Now this raises an interesting question. Is this an outlier, or does Jar have some sort of well-known history in relation to his odd behavior towards women?
I mean, look, I told you in DMs before, you throw a rock at a woman in this community, they'll tell you a story about Jar. It's like an instinctive reaction.
And that's not an understatement. Basically, every woman I've spoken to has a story, and in some cases, people have heard about this project and are just sending me their DMs with Jar. Now I'm going to level with you. I want to limit this to the conversations I've actually had with people who have platforms, because it's quite easy in situations like this for people to come out with accusations which are later shown to be false. That being said, we are going to start with Jar's former artist, given that they're a bit of a ground zero for this being discussed. You worked with Jar as his artist.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me some of the interactions you had with Jar?
Yeah, well, most of it on my side was just like super professional and like, you know, like it started out really, really professional and simple, like any kind of client relationship you would expect. But after, I'd have to check the date, but after like not too long, he started to want to VC with me. So he asked me to VC him. If this was the first time he ever asked me, and I was like, oh yeah, I can totally, that was a response to something else. I basically was like, I was like, I can probably VC in a little bit. And this was the first time I thought, oh, maybe I'll humor him. I mean, maybe he's a nice guy. Maybe I'll VC him. I don't know, because usually I think it's like a client thing. Like maybe he wants to talk about art. But I realized that maybe he just wanted to chat as friends or something. I don't know. I didn't know him at all. And so he was like, awesome, just so you know, sometimes I say off the cuff shit, lol. And I responded with, don't even sweat it. I'm the same way. I only censor myself if the other person isn't into the more edgy humor I'm into. And then he said, this is the weird part. He said, okay, cool. I just don't want to lose another person who is so useful.
Okay.
Yeah, these conversations were weird. When he said that, I was like, okay, no worries. And then I disappeared, never VC'd him. And then I got another message saying, are we not VCing? And I had told him that I accidentally fell asleep, which was probably bullshit. I just didn't want to VC him, but you know.
While requests to just jump into a voice call aren't unique to Jar within the ACC, he has certainly garnered a reputation for being a little bit weird about the whole thing, even amongst that crowd. You all know me. I'd love to do the whole kind of concerned, I think this is a really serious problem. It's also just fucking hilarious.
You said this to me before, that basically my surprise was surprising, because I kind of forget not everyone is just kind of used to it. Jar asking about women's pussies is nothing new. He did it all the time when we would VC, like, oh god, back when Peaches was still around. He used to ask us all sorts of inappropriate shit, and people kind of just rolled their eyes, and it was like, it's just Jar, he's too stupid to be a problem, so like, just roll with the punches. I mean, look, Jar crying to get in VCs with people is really common. The cock joke is really common.
What do you mean
asking about... Oh?
What do you mean by crying to get into VCs with people?
My first ever interaction with Jar, the first time he ever DM'd me, he was like, hey, can you get into VC? I'm really sad and want to talk to someone. And I was like, what?
What?
I'm like, sir. And of course, this was, God, how many years ago was this now? I had forgotten about this exchange. I only remember, I just saw it because I went back into my DMs to find the other stuff.
And this is also mentioned in the conversations I had with long-standing member of the community, Sunny. But what we need is almost a case study of a particular instance where Jar's behavior is fully on display. Fortunately, one exists. Let's talk about VidCon. Now, to provide you a bit of forewarning, the stories I'm about to tell you about VidCon 2023 are quite autistic. Allow me, though, to set the scene for you. A few days prior to the event, Jar would release a thumbnail for his upcoming Spoctor video, which included a reference to EDP. Even with the allegations against Spoctor, some people felt this went a bit far. One of whom was Mally.
I had seen that, and I replied to his thumbnail thing on Twitter being like, hey, this is fucking dumb, don't imply someone is, as bad as EDP when they're not.
The fallout from this thumbnail was actually pretty significant, and it's become its own little bit of Jar lore within the art commentary community. It actually even ended his friendship with another creator who goes by Harley. But personally, I think the far more interesting story is the fallout that occurred during VidCon. It seems that Jar was very keen to meet up with other creators and have a conversation during the convention, with Mally bearing the brunt of his attentions. The DMs she would receive over the next couple of days are incredibly fucking weird. I don't want to read them in full, but I will give you a solid summary. Jar begins by making it clear his intentions are to talk about the current drama. Mally is not very receptive to that. However, when she refuses a VC, Jar makes the very sensible move of suggesting they meet up for drinks and then possibly going to his hotel room. He does phrase this as a joke, but it is incredibly sexually aggressive nonetheless. After this, a few days would pass, and Jar's pleas for meeting up become even more desperate, at one point saying he wouldn't threaten or berate her for not getting in a VC with him. Part of the problem here is that Jar's interactions seem to be largely like this with anyone he's having drama with. In fact, Mally would receive DMs later on in October referencing this drama. Now, we'll come back to Jar's intimidation tactics and how incredibly fucking vindictive he can be in a later section, but I want to highlight here how long-running this drama was over what was essentially a single tweet.
There's no way to describe this without it sounding uncharitable. Like, people describe this as he couldn't take no for an answer, which is just what happened, but that sounds like really sexual, and that's not what it was. I don't think. But yeah, he was kind of like just hunting for us at VidCon. We did the girly thing. It's like we have the protection squad, so if someone spotted like anything Jar adjacent, they sent a group message being like, stay indoors.
Now, Mally wouldn't be the only person to have some weird interactions with Jar throughout the convention. Another notable individual is Ponder. Now, Ponder was on lookout duty, and while chilling out outside, she'd find herself in a direct confrontation with Jar. I'm going to relay this to you really as simply as I can because it feels like a very convoluted story for a very small interaction. Ponder would be approached by Jar, who she did not recognize. They'd have a quick conversation, during which he'd mention he was also a YouTuber. When she asked, "Oh, what's your channel?" he responded, "JustARobot," gripped her hand tightly, and then laughed manically while walking away. Elements of this story have for some reason been hotly debated, whether Jar recognized Ponder, whether he laughed manically, but one thing is for certain, upon hearing the name JustARobot, Ponder exclaimed, "Oh God," and tried to pull away.
The kicker is he did it again this year. But another, I think 3.
Another 2 of our friends, yeah.
2? They told us they tried to chase them down.
No, I think they were either in like a hall or a panel beforehand. Jar spotted them, started coming towards them.
Oh wait,
they started
I was there.
like running away.
Okay, good. Julie, can you just
Yeah.
Okay, so we were literally in the convention hall. We were doing some fucking like Descendants thing. It was so dumb. And we spotted him. And so Jar didn't know what I looked like. He knew what B looked like. And so I was like, B, stand in front of me so that he can't fucking see you. And we were able to go through the thing. And then we started like making our way to where we could go up to the creator level because we had a panel that we wanted to go to. So one of the people turned around and was like, "Oh, he's following us." And he was like really fucking close. So we just booked it for the escalator and we're like, "Oh my God, we're running late for the panel," like very loudly. And we just ran.
Yeah, and these are people as well, the other 2 creators that we aren't naming, that have already told Jar like to fuck off. And the thing that it's a Jarism at this point. He jumps up and down screaming about how no one is leaving him alone and everyone is like coming at him. But Jar's the only one that's like doing shit. Everyone else is like, go away. And he doesn't.
VidCon 2023 is very much just a snapshot of who Jar is, and while I would love to present to you everything I've seen and been told about Jar, I've chosen to be selective to stuff that I can in some way verify. Now, I know that many of those stories are rolling out at time of recording, and I'm sure there will be many interesting tales to tell of Jar's interactions with women. But I think the most interesting thing right now is if I just show you what he has to say about it. One thing that has sort of been brushed upon, but no one's really gone in depth because I think a lot of it is behind the scenes. When FPS Diesel came in and played you the recording of the voice message that you sent to one of your artists, that became a bit of a sideline. Diesel comes in and drops a bombshell. Now, as far as I can tell, from what I've been told, every woman within the ACC who you've interacted with has a story like this. And when I spoke to Lo about it, he said, well, I wasn't aware Jar was still doing that. My understanding was that Jar had a girlfriend now and had stopped.
It truly my sense of humor. This is how I joke around, and I really should have stopped joking around like this once I got a girlfriend. This is not my attempts to hit on anyone.
Sure, it's not. It's again like I guess my view towards you isn't sort of, well, this is flirtatious. Though there's I can see where that accusation comes from. I don't want to ascribe things. What I can say is this stuff is very, very odd. I mean, the Let's talk about VidCon, because I've seen DM messages from you to Mally, and I've heard the stories of you sort of trying to find the girls at VidCon, and your interactions with Ponder. I mean, do you recognize these as sort of quite abnormal things to do?
Well, at first I wanted to meet up with Mal, and the others because I've interacted with them for so long. And then Mal just was like, I don't want to see you, and I wasn't looking for them. Like, I wasn't looking for Mal or the others. Like, I swear, first person I saw at VidCon was Harley. I think they were in a CVS pharmacy with possibly the right opinion. My roommate can confirm this for me. My roommate can, and I was just like, I don't want to interact with Harley. Like, Harley and the others are upset with me. I don't want to interact with them right now. And as for the thing at VidCon with Ponder,
do you want to give me your version of that? Because the version I've heard is you sort of approaching her and shaking her hand, telling her who you were, and then laughing manically while walking away.
Okay, yeah, I get that. So what actually happened was I sat down to eat some ice cream, and then I heard Ponder's voice, and I looked to my left, and I noticed, that person looks like Ponder. And then I read the name tag, and I was like, oh my god, this is Ponder. So I said, oh, are you Ponder Sprocket? She gave me a sticker. I shook her hand. I said, I'm also a YouTuber. And she says, oh, who? And I said, JustARobot. She yelled out, oh my god. And I immediately let go of her hand. She says I squeezed it, but I distinctly remember letting go. Like, just letting go immediately because I didn't want it to linger. And then I walked away. And then when I got inside, I kind of laughed about it because of her reaction.
With the messages you sent to Mally, you understand that those come across in quite... I mean, I know we're not saying flirtatious as a jokey side to it, but I mean, you did say, well, if you don't want to meet up or VC, we could meet for drinks and come to my hotel room.
And then I said lol JK or something.
Sure, but that's still a very aggressively sexual thing to say, right?
Yes, I realize that. I know I need to stop this. I've been given warnings about it. It's just now finally catching up to me, but this is something that is... This is one of my biggest character flaws, and it's always been my style of humor, and I don't know how... I'm going to try to get better, but sometimes I think, can I even do that?
Because, I mean, again, looking at even, like, minor players like Sunny, you posed, I believe, her to voice a character, a mouse that would be in love with you for your videos.
No.
Okay.
Wait, okay. I don't think her character was supposed to be in love with me. There was just... okay, so... You know how... What was it? Resident Evil 4, I believe? How there was this, like, mouse... Like, people were memeing that, like, the president's daughter was, like, this mouse version of herself.
Sure.
Yeah, and, as I've never played Resident Evil 4, I do not know if her and Leon get into a relationship, but the mouse was supposed to say things like, cheese whiz, Mr. Jar, and stuff like that, and then she told me she didn't want to do that, and I assumed it was because of the cheese whiz part, but later she explained to me that she's from Wales, and Mr. Implies a form of, like, authority over someone, and I had no idea about that. That's not a thing as far as I'm aware in the States. Mr. is just like what you call an adult male where I'm from.
Okay, that again clears up. And again, I know the artist in question, who you sent those voice messages to.
Who is it?
So
I made a mistake. I thought it was the one who made the thumbnail for the Cine video because I couldn't even remember. But which artist was it?
I'm just going to leave that anonymous if that's all right. But, you know, because from my perspective, this didn't come as a... You know, I'd heard some of these stories beforehand of sort of odd interactions. So it seems like, you know, if it's like done amongst close friends, you can kind of go, that's understandable. But this seems to be just your interactions generally are quite odd.
Yeah.
Overall,
yeah.
You know.
No, I want to make this clear. I'm not using this as an excuse, but just as an explanation. I'm not saying this completely means what I'm doing is okay. But not only do I have autism and dyslexia, so the communication between people, especially through text, is horrible. But on top of that, I was pretty much homeschooled all my life, so I didn't really get to interact with people. And I've actually lost jobs because of this, making jokes like this. And after a while, I started avoiding female coworkers, and then I started avoiding coworkers altogether because I was just like, what's wrong with me? What am I doing wrong? And plenty of people have explained it to me, and now it's hitting me harder than ever. And I'm going to try to work on myself, but I'm nervous that I'll never get better.
It's kind of interesting because you made the allusion to Coyote, and I was thinking the same thing. I mean, does it occur to you that this is more or less, you know, it didn't get to go as far, but this is more or less a Coyote Lovely situation?
I understand why people get that impression. The problem is I talk to everyone like that. Coyote only has spoken to 2 people like that as far as I'm aware, and Coyote did things like hire an artist to make pictures of him licking Sappho's butthole, and the most I've done is, hey Cine, want to see my cock, and send a picture of a chicken. I think it's like, and also like,
well, even if it's to a lesser extent, because we can argue the semantics, but you built a friendship with Cinebear, which for whatever reason, you know, Coyote, this is how it started with Coyote. He went to try and get Sappho, but ended up building that friendship and then relationship with them, you know.
Well, here's the thing: if people, there's no way we can know for sure if I would go further or not. I'm gonna say I wasn't, but I can understand if people would think I would have gone further with it. The thing is, I've talked to almost everyone like this, and I need to stop it. It's an issue I have. Thank God I'm not doing it with you right now, because I know I need to avoid that. I'm not saying, here's my cock and sending you hey, why don't you see a dick pic, and I send you a picture of Dick Grayson.
I want to keep the theme of Jar's interactions with people, but shift gears a little bit.
These people disgust me. They don't care if what they did was wrong, they just care if they were caught.
Also, I'm going to try and reach out to Chud Logic. Ooh, I remember liking his stream. I think with his help, along with the recording... You little fucking bitch! You little wretch! Is that what you thought, was it?
It may come as absolutely no surprise to you that that's exactly what Jar thought. Now, you may have noticed a little subscriber count number popping up when anybody's speaking, and that's because I wanted to give you an insight into how Jar sees the world. His relationships are almost entirely transactional. How much clout somebody has, how much influence they can hold, whether they can be of benefit to him, are the key things that he is thinking about. And when you fall from grace, you are of no use to him anymore.
But I also can't get help from people like Lio, Peaches, and Doodletones. The last 2 left YouTube, and Lio's reputation is in the dirt.
I've been there for you. I've done it for years now. You didn't even have the decency to come to me about this because I was, and I quote, canceled, which means somehow my information means nothing. That is not treating me like a friend, Jar. That's treating me like an asset.
But I don't want to give you the impression this is the way Jar works only with larger content creators, as though he has the intelligence to be that tactical. In the current drama involving Cinebear, he begged a tiny content creator, Romantic Goblin, to come and fight in his comments section with people who disagreed with him. And because Jar's only concern is whether you can be of use to him, it means he has basically no moral standards for the things he talks about. Now, I don't want to get into the whole Spoctor drama because that's a whole nother rabbit hole, but Spoctor was somebody who they basically had banged to rights as being in possession of illicit images of a minor. So you'd think Jar would have issues with this even years later, but in his interview with Cinebear, he makes the following statements.
Don't fuck up like Spoctor and Peaches did. Like, here's the thing. When it comes to the Spoctor situation, the dude got canceled for being a pussy. Like, if I was in that same situation as him, I would have been like, oh yeah, I stumbled upon it, looked through all the multiple folders I had on it, saw the 13-year-old nudes, freaked out, ripped it out, stomped on it, and flushed it down my toilet. I'm not a predator, I just held on to those nudes in deep within folders, and that's what happened to me. Oh well, guess I'll keep uploading like I normally did.
Now, I have been made aware of multiple images and instances where Jar has in some way downplayed relationships between adults and minors. However, from what I've seen at time of recording, I don't think Jar is running these plays and defenses because he in some way has some skeletons in his closet. I think he was probably just going along with the common consensus, and for those of you aware of the Fruitcake server leaks and the Toby drama, he wasn't the only one. Though it is worth highlighting that if Jar has friends who have done serious things wrong, whether it be Cine or Spoctor, who bear some striking similarities, he will defend them because what's important to Jar is that his friends are useful, that his friends owe him, and ultimately that he is getting validation for the takes he gives. And please note that I'm saying takes he gives, not his takes, because Jar doesn't have any fucking opinions of his own. Jar's opinions are formed by committee. And what's insane about this statement is that isn't something I'm saying, it's something that Mally said to him when they were having drama.
I've been insulted saying my videos are designed by committee instead of just me, and I think they're right.
Jar is so incapable of having opinions of his own, he has to take criticism from years ago and rephrase it as self-reflection. I know this is going to sound petty as hell to some of you, but it really is a perfect example of what Jar does. The reason that JustARobot has been involved in so many fucking dramas is because as a drama is nearing its end, what Jar will do is jump in waving his banner saying, "Don't worry guys, JustARobot's here," when the battle is already won. And the only way Jar has been able to continue this grift is by parroting the takes that have already won the day. Which is exactly what happened in the Cinebear drama, by the way. JustARobot saw Chud Logic covering it and laughing at Birdie and assumed that meant public opinion was turning. And then he just simply stole Kumu's opinions. Unfortunately for him, Kumu's opinions on the topic were fucking retarded. And if it sounds like I'm losing my mind, it's because after hours of looking through this guy's history, it is infuriating how often this has happened. And by the way, just before you think I'm some sort of conspiracy theorist, I'm not the only one who's noticed this.
Jar to me has always kind of been like a snake in the grass. I think that's the best way to describe him. He comes around only when like all the situations are over, and he tries to act as if he was like the voice all along that people should have listened to. He has this I feel like he has this sort of like hero complex in a way when he makes his videos. And the reality is that he just kind of he looks to an opinion that he can repeat that's the prevailing one. And then I feel like he can just kind of goes with the flow of the community, and that's how he's been able to just kind of get away with being this this fucking idiot, you know.
I guess I wonder, looking at this, when you've got a decently sized platform where your job on the internet is to commentate on things, where you're sort of saying to me, well, yes, I commentate on things, but I'm not actually sure I have any actual opinions. Which is, a bit of an odd juxtaposition.
I do have opinions. I do. It's just, I want my opinion to be right. Well, I guess everybody does to a certain extent. It's just, sometimes I'm trying to... The problem with, one of my biggest problems is I'm trying to seem like a very good version of myself to both sides, or all sides, and I've been trying to strike that balance, and I can't, and now I have to realize, who am I? And a lot of people have noticed I've flip-flopped to being more progressive and trying to work on pronouns, to being more edgy, and I keep going back and forth. I'm like, I don't know what I prefer, I don't know what I want.
Before we move on, I want to get to why Jar has survived so long.
It's just, when you constantly win, like I have,
Now, this might seem like a slightly odd statement given what we've seen recently, but I promise you there is actually an explanation, and it's highlighted in the recent call Kumu had with Cinebat.
Like, I knew how this guy was. I warned you how he was. I told you what position you were in, and I was very conscious and scared on your behalf because of what position you're in. Jar could have raped you, and that's probably what he was trying to, like, that was probably his dream, his end goal.
Jar's history includes some of the most insane false allegations I have ever seen, including in one instance a grooming accusation against her niece who does not exist. And this has been to Jar's net benefit, because whenever people level criticism at him, he's able to point to those allegations and say they were false, so how can we trust these ones?
What were the Fluffy Turbo allegations?
Fluffy Turbo and Chaos 55T came out of hiding to make up false allegations about Jar grooming and sexually abusing his niece, who doesn't exist. So, for context, Chaos 55T was originally a part of the people who drove Jar off of DeviantArt. This is like bits of the pieces that I remember from his DeviantArt whatever story. She made up allegedly, she made up someone who doesn't exist and claimed that Jar drove this person to end themselves. When Jar came forward and talked about what he dealt with, obviously Chaos got a lot of flack from that. She dipped. A few months later, maybe a year later, I don't exactly remember the time frame, Fluffy Turbo, who was one of Chaos's friends, started going around to people, Laka Moka Laka and myself included, trying to pass off these screenshots as allegations that Jar was grooming a minor and that he had in the past sexually assaulted his niece. Like, I went over this stuff, and in the course of like 5 minutes, I told Fluffy Turbo to shove it. But I think 2 weeks after that, she brought the allegations to the public and tried to press them. So I did a stream going through them, basically being all like, this is fucking bullshit. And in the course of the stream, some of the allegations went over the idea that Jar was racist, and I basically shrugged it off and said, yeah, we know Jar's racist. I don't care about this stuff. Show me, like, the serious stuff. And as far as I'm aware, he's held that against me since.
I mean, only in the ACC could you have a drama about sexual assault against somebody who's not real.
Yeah.
It's happened at least twice.
When Jar says he wins his dramas, what he actually means is he manages to debunk some of the insane accusations coming from people who've been A-logging him for 10 years. Which is why, if you're going to make accusations like this against somebody, you better have some solid evidence and some reliable sources. Though I do want to be charitable. Many of you will be aware of my drama with known dentistry dodger Wick TV, who in early 2023 removed me from a panel so he could rizz up another member of said panel because she had more subscribers than me. Now, Wick's history of scumbaggery is well documented. We also clashed in early 2024 when it was discovered that he was working with Progressive Victory undisclosed to his audience while promoting them. And if you're confused as to why I'd bring up a completely unrelated person who has nothing to do with any of this in the middle of a video on Jar, I don't blame you. So please explain to me why every single JustARobot drama video has a section rehashing his grievances with people who are nothing to do with anything, and they're randomly inserted in the most awkward way possible. In his hit piece on Doodle Tones, he basically stops talking about her for 3 minutes so he can talk about how much better he is than all the other commentators he's fought with over the years. And in case you think this is an isolated incident, no, this is just how Jar works. In his recent conversation with Lyo Convoy, when his credibility and reputation is crumbling, he promises never to make a drama video again. Though he does have one question.
Quick question. I do have one drama video that is all finished. and I was thinking of just making it a Patreon exclusive. Do you think I should do that?
No.
Jar has a pathological need to go after people who have slighted him in the past. And while he is talking about how he will never engage in drama content again, this is something I would be deeply skeptical of. This isn't the first time Jar has taken a break. And secondly, because deep down, Jar is deeply, deeply vengeful.
Every time I go to bed and I'm about to fall asleep, I just feel angry about sometimes things that have happened 10 years ago, and sometimes I feel like revenge is the only thing that keeps me going.
And don't get me twisted, I personally love a little bit of vengeance, but one of the frustrating things about Jar is his need to be seen as the hero and never the villain.
When I'm winning in a drama, I try to show my opponents mercy. I guarantee you, if the situation was flipped, Diaper Tones would not have done the same. I knew this from the beginning our drama began, but I still showed them kindness. But despite all the kindness I showed them, they were not willing to show me any kindness in return.
Okay, this is just insane nonsense. I've got no idea why Jar would say this when it's so obviously and provably false. It's probably time to bring up Jar's second channel, which dates back to 2013 and is basically just a huge list of hit pieces against people who have pissed him off over the years. And Jar can say that he is merciful when he's winning a drama, but I really want to direct you to one person that Jar has been beefing with for 8 years at this point. The creator in question is T-Moss Boss, who has over 100,000 subscribers and a dead channel. Even in the midst of the current drama as one of Jar's longest running detractors, still nobody gives a shit. Except for Jar. That final video that Jar wanted to put up on Patreon is in fact on T-Moss Boss. You literally cannot make this insanity up. However, T-Moss does help us to answer some interesting questions. For example, why is it so many people are hesitant to even go after this guy? Now, I think it's reasonable to say that there are two separate components to this. Firstly, if you go after Jar, you will be dealing with Jar for the rest of your life, as he makes video after video after video on you. The next element is Jar's audience, which Jar himself describes as quite toxic. And while he claims to have taken steps to try and get them to chill the fuck out a bit, the honest truth is, the only way to get your audience to stop gunning for somebody is to just stop talking about them.
I do these drama videos to bring justice. I have a big channel, which gives me a lot of power.
Look, Jar is absolutely aware of the threat he poses to smaller content creators, and within the ACC, many people just don't want to deal with something like that. In fact, one of the common questions I was asked is, are you sure you want to go down this route? Because you are going to be hearing about it for the rest of your life online. Just as an aside on this topic, I want to note Jar's startling paranoia, which has managed to fuck him over in ways he wasn't even aware of. I'm aware that you were worried that the ACC girlies were going to go after you. And, you know, you seem to make allusions to this in the commentary video.
Well, to be fair, they've been going after me. They're not just women. There's yeah.
Do you know that there was only one video planned on you, and it was a defense video?
No.
I know that Jar has been allegedly paranoid that the ACC is like planning on making a video on him or whatever. I have not been aware of any videos that people have been planning on making about Jar, except for one. I was making a video about the Fluffy Turbo situation and talking about how the allegations against Jar were false. I canceled my production of that video despite literally almost being done because, one, I couldn't get the stupid Twitter account with his real ass name taken off of Twitter, no matter how many times I was reporting it, and I had been reporting it for months. But also because Jar decided to make a pot shot about me in one of his videos, and I decided, fuck him, he's a jackass, he doesn't deserve it.
The only person making a video on you was Ponder, and it was to defend you from the previous accusations. And then you came out and took a shot, and the video was cancelled. I mean, you do have an entire second channel which does seem to be sort of vengeance responses to people.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, going back to 2013.
Back to 2013?
Yeah, I mean that's that
I thought you were talking about the recent stuff. Yeah, this is one issue I do have. I just have a very strong desire to get back at people, and the worst part is once you do, it doesn't feel that great. It feels a little good, but it doesn't feel nearly as great as you would think it does. And I was trying to respond to every single video ever made on me on my second channel at one point, but then I got bored. And now I realize like how silly and stupid that made me look, because I could have been making videos that people actually gave a shit about and got a lot more views. And granted, response videos are a lot easier to make. Like, you know what you're saying, you know what they're saying. You don't even need a script. You just hit the record button and use some gameplay. Very easy stuff to make. But now, with the amount of people I've pissed off, I realized that I kind of dug my own grave by acting the way I did. I kept on pissing people off one after another, and eventually I knew eventually it would come back to bite me in the ass, and it did.
I mean, yeah. So the people I've spoken to who've had sort of issues with you in the past, one of the constant things I hear is they don't want to respond. They don't want to deal with kind of how vengeful you are. And there's this fear, especially for smaller channels or people with lesser platforms, that in fact I heard Timos Boss say this in his most recent video, and I've heard this from kind of multiple even bigger channels, where there's this real worry that it's not just you that will come after them, you end up in a position of weaponizing an audience to come after them potentially.
I suppose you're right. I mean, that's the risk of having a platform, and I'm going to be honest here, I don't like that, because I've done what I can to keep my fans off of Doodletone's back for a very, very long time. I've been saying in my more recent drama videos on the old channel, please do not attack this person. And like I've been, and other stuff.
That's true, but I mean, from what I can hear from behind the scenes, that may be what you say publicly, but it seems like privately you have at least alluded to that threat while having dramas with people.
Well, I have said, like, listen, like, I think a good example is the Vincent Skullman stuff. Like, he made a video on me, and I wanted to talk things out with him instead of making a video, because he was a very sensitive guy, and I was like, my fans are so toxic, I didn't want them to go after him. And I tried to talk things out with him in private. Eventually, it did work. Unfortunately, that created issues with him, Lio, and Linlin, and I was like, oh my god, I did not want that to happen. I try my best to work things out with people, but I just sometimes don't feel like I know what I'm doing. Like, I do desire revenge, I do desire to get back at people, but I also desire to work things out with people and talk through them, things with them. And with Lio, for a long time, that he was a big help with that. I sat down and talked things out with multiple people instead of just... Because as much as people fear my vengefulness, I also fear the vengefulness of others.
Looking at where you're sat now, I know you've said you're not going to make more drama videos, so you're going to take a step back from that because of Lio. So is that you know, I suppose the question people will have is this you saying that now? But then in 6 months, 12 months, whatever, you'll be like, well, now it's died down, I can take a hit at the people who took shots at me.
That's a good question. That is an excellent question. I'm thinking of making my backdrop, like, don't get back into drama on my laptop so I can keep reminding myself. I just don't know if I'll go back to it or not. I hope I don't, but I know myself, and I know I get angry and want to get back at people.
I want to just tie this last bit back to the Cinebear drama we're currently embroiled in. Jar's choices and decision-making are highly questionable. I mean, what possessed you to go to Chud Logic of all people? And I like Chud, don't get me wrong, but like, if I was looking for somebody to kind of side up in a drama with me, or like if I needed somebody who I thought I could get or I could use a platform for to like just even plant a seed of an idea, he would be the fucking last person I'd pick.
Okay, 2 reasons, but after this, I need to go for a little bit because I need to take a dump.
Sure.
Yeah, okay, so it might just be gas. It should just take 5 minutes. So don't like turn off the call or anything. I'll just mute myself and.
That's fine. I'll grab it. I'll grab a drink while you're doing it. It's fine.
Yeah. So, one is I was suggested that he was more fair to Cine than anyone else. He seemed more skeptical. And 2, Chud did a video on me back in, as he said it, his soy days. And out of any video I've ever seen on me, I thought it was the most fair and balanced. So I thought, oh, this seems like a guy who's fair and balanced. And, maybe he is, but he probably, like, when I got onto that stream and I saw how angry he was, I realized, oh no, I messed up.
I think it's fair to say that Jar dangerously misjudged how wider commentary would react to something like the Cinebear story. Art commentary involves an extraordinary amount of things that happen behind the scenes in people's interpersonal relationships. This leads to long-standing beefs and feuds that go on for years in some cases, but let's be honest, wider commentary's intention is quite different.
No, I mean, like, it's just content, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Frankly, most stories we talk about as commentators, we don't have a deep emotional investment in. Most coverage is going to be pretty dispassionate. And I didn't make this video because I hate Jar, I did it because I lack impulse control in a social life. Honestly, the entire Cinebear drama highlights the issues with becoming overly invested in a story. The issues Jar, and frankly anybody else even tangentially involved in this mess have faced, should be a stark reminder to everyone of the flack you will catch if you make this mistake. Finally, I'd just like to thank everyone who was involved in helping with this project, from interviews to art assets. It's all really appreciated. I hope you've enjoyed what we've gone over today and it's been useful to you in the future, because a video like this really did need to exist, frankly. The full interview with Jar will be linked in the description below, and as I suck at sign-offs, I guess I'll just see you in the next one. I want to make something that's entertaining for people, but I want to make sure that if there is a next time, there is a solid piece of evidence and solid kind of piece of work that people can go, that's who Jar is in one place, because I think that is needed.
I think it is needed because I don't even think I know who I am. Often I don't even recognize my own reflection, as cheesy as that sounds.